रितेश भाई साउंड ऑडिबल sir?
हाँ ऑडिबल છે.
Okay, okay. जी. Jai Sangha everyone. We'll start the session. Thank you for joining us on Sunday morning for today's session on vibe coding. So, hi, I'm Manan. I currently work as data scientist at Intuit, and along with me, I have Yash Bhai Soni, who has his own startup, and both of us will guide you throughout the today's session. So, vibe coding is something that has fundamentally changed how software is built. Like every year, like different advancements occur, but this advancement is something that has changed the way we code and also the way we should think about software development. So, like idea of today's session is to familiarize ourselves with this topic and also like understand things that we can do to use this new invention to our advantage. Yeah. So N- like if you look in past 6 months to 1 year time frame, the software developer job has changed at a very fundamental level. There is a shift in industry which is clearly visible out there, like with this AI models and like are now capable of coding up and prototyping at a very rapid pace, a pace that like we earlier have never thought of. So this has sent out like shockwaves across the entire industry. Currently, what we experience is like with this models coding up at a very rapid pace, there is increase in the expectations of the role that we are currently in. So, like if I am a backend developer, I'll be expected to do things which are much beyond the backend development, beyond the scope of the backend development. So like the expectations increased in for people who are already in industry out there. Second thing that it has caused is like the scope of the role has expanded. By that I mean like I need to take responsibilities which are well beyond my role to sustain in my current role itself. That's the second thing that has happened. The third thing that we clearly see is like smaller and smaller teams are able to deliver like like unexpected output, like say an output that would have taken like 6 months, they are able to do it in 2 months, 1 month time frame. So rapid pace of development is currently exists in industry. Now with this AI, with this ripples getting sent out all across industry at an individual level, like all of us must be experiencing like okay, these expectations are a bit unrealistic to meet, like because we have never seen such pace in the past, and we feel like okay, we are in a survival crisis. Like we s- another thing that we notice is like in like to grow in IT industry, our thought process has been like we learn a technology, we invest time and effort in that, and that keeps us growing in IT landscape. But now what we experience is like the ROI on skills that we have developed over say past 1 year, when we by learning a framework, by learning a new programming language, that is giving diminishing returns in this evolving job market. So the growth path becomes hazy in that scenario. Now this is not a great situation to be in, and in today's session we will be trying to address these questions, and how do we navigate in this rapidly changing AI driven landscape where like 6 months, like where say 6 months, 1 year ago, software development was completely different, and today it's completely different. So we need to adapt to this change, and today's session will be helping us there. Coming to the basics, what is vibe coding? Like we have heard it in the past, we hear it everywhere in news articles, and whenever like a new innovation happens, we hear about layoff, vibe coding, people attribute it to vibe coding. So what vibe coding is, coming back to basics. Now, it's a generic term, like some people also call it AI assisted coding, but it's one and the same. Vibe coding is basically telling AI the goal and the plan, and let AI models do typing for you, so that you can focus on the thinking, you can focus on the core problem that you are trying to solve. So it's divided into three parts mainly. So first we come up with a strategy, we come up with a plan that, okay, what app we are trying to build, what feature we are trying to build. Yeah, I'm using the terms from like which are more familiar from a software development perspective, but it also applies to other disciplines as well. So like first thing is we have to be absolutely clear in our minds that what feature we are trying to build, what app we are trying to build, and what problem we are trying to solve. So vibe coding forces us to like have absolute clarity before we start doing any coding. The next part is the heavy lifting part. Now, say 6 months, 1 year below, the framing of the problem, framing the strategy part used to have like was handled by either product managers or senior developers. But with this advancement, what has happened is like in each at each level of the ladder, like uh, like we are expected to think in terms of what problem we are trying to solve. Once we are absolutely clear on the problem, the next step was we used to like start coding up. So this is the heavy lifting part which used to take most of our time. Like say even developing a simple app, adding a new feature, like the timeline like stretches like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Now that the heavy lifting part is now handled by AI. AI writes the boilerplate code, like the repetitive code that like that used to take up most of our time. So our mental bandwidth gets freed from writing code, from typing code. So in terms of thought process, if we see now, we are spending more time, our focus shifts from programming syntax, the nuances of the programming language, the nuances of the framework, to the actual user problem we are trying to solve. Now this is a big gain in terms of how much focus we can have towards the true problem, and and the details of the programming languages, of the framework, the technology that we are trying to use goes away. If I give a simple analogy, like vibe coding makes you an architect from a worker. Like say if we are building a house, then there is an architect who designs the house, who decides okay how it will look like. Then in the middle you have the person who is executing the plan that is given by architect, and at the lowermost level who are workers who follow the like instructions given by say the contractor who is in the middle. Now like the work that worker used to do is analogous to writing code, typing code, that goes away. So irrespective of which level we are in our software development journey, like we need to start thinking from what problem we are trying to solve and not just implementing the solution. Now whenever any such new development happens, it leads to like misperception, because when like and each one of us have gone through that. Like I've been like in my past 5 years of experience, I can say I truly realized potential in only in last 6 months to 1 year, like how much vibe coding can help. When this thing came out at the start, all of us thought like, okay, it's just blindly copy pasting of the code. It's like just using AI as like, okay, whatever solution it gives out, that's the right, and we simply use that. It leads to like what some of us what will happen is like will it leads to abandoning ourselves from architecture and system design thinking. That is where LLMs lag. And like when we surrender our engineering judgments to LLM, that is where problems arise. Like if there's a recent example from Amazon, like any AI generated code or any LLM generated code has to be reviewed by senior developers before it can go into production, because it had lead to problems that had like costed them millions of dollars. So vibe coding is not just blindly copy pasting. It's about having a clear direction and clear thinking of problem you're trying to solve, and actively collaborating with AI models to get the solution out of it. It has bunch of steps. Like, we need to prompt it in a way like that the model understand what constraints we are trying to impose, because model does not know what system we are trying to build. It only knows what we prompt. So we have to prompt it in a way that model is able to interpret things well. This is one part. Second is, whenever we get the first output from an AI model, it's not the most optimal one. It's a baseline. We need to iterate over that intelligently so that like the final output is the one that fulfills our requirement. The third part is, like, we need to review the code thoroughly before we, okay, like, freeze upon our solution. Once we follow this three steps, we will be able to ship very robust features at a very high pace. So it's not about competing against an AI or competing against an LLM. It's about like how we convey our like problem thoroughly to an LLM so that it crafts out multiple solutions for us. We assess the solutions, and when we pick up the best one for our use case. So whenever next time when you pick up a task of vibe coding, when you're coding up something using an AI assistant, make sure you convey the right instructions, right steps to the model, so that it gives you multiple solutions that, like, I assure you, like, some of the solution that it proposes would be something that we never have thought of. And this has been accepted even by, say, like, I was reading in past, like, by Linus Travels as well, or even by Donald Nath, who are like known folks in computer science industry. Like, AI generates solutions like in different directions that we have never thought of. So that's the leverage that we have, and we want to benefit it for the problems that we are trying to solve. Impact of vibe coding. First thing it has impacted us is changed the fundamental nature of the software engineering job that we are currently doing. Most of us used to think like, okay, our job is writing code, and and some of us still might be in that thought process. But that is not the case. Our job is to deliver outcomes, like, irrespective of whichever industry we are functioning in, our job expects us to deliver outcomes. And code is the medium that we are using to deliver outcomes. And with vibe coding, this medium has got radically more powerful. So that's the benefit that we have. Second thing it has changed is the unit of the work change. Till now, like, if you have to assess, okay, how much work a individual has done, it used to be in terms of, okay, number of tickets closed, in terms of hours, number of lines of code written. But now the unit of work has changed. Like, it is number of problems that were assigned to you and how many did you end up solving. So, and this has increased expectations. From my experience, I can say, like the number of projects that each individual used to do at Intuit has doubled in past 2 quarters. So 2 3 quarters ago, we used to take like 1 2 projects per quarter. Now it has doubled to 4 and 5. But the benefit is, like the tools have also become accessible, that enables us to deliver more, that enables to fulfill requirements of all 5 projects that were assigned. Now this is an inevitable shift in industry, because just think in terms of, say, if a team of 5 6 developers is given this tool and they start shipping in days instead of weeks, and that team won't again go back to weeks. The vibe coded output becomes the new baseline. And like this baseline achieved at a very high pace, where at a very high speed, changes expectations. And changing expectations require us to, like, step into different roles and do like whatever it takes to fulfill the project that has been assigned to. Now some of us will like have an argument like, okay, I'm just generating output from an LLM and putting it in my project, but that is not real engineering. But this is the hard truth that like markets don't care. Market reward results. And since these tools are helping us to achieve results at a faster pace, this shift has is inevitable in software industry. And all of us need to adapt to this change. And there are more good parts to it, I would say, because like now we are able to target like problems which are much beyond our scope. I'll come to that in one of my next slides. Another thing it has caused is there is a shift in value of skills. Like I briefly touched upon the topic, like say 3 years ago when I think of growing my career, I think in terms of learning a new technology, learning a new language, learning a new framework, and I'll start investing time and effort in that. Now that have diminished, that currently we experience that approach no longer holds. We get diminishing returns if we take that path. And there are certain other skills that like which are experiencing, which are valued low in market, which is like writing average code. Writing repetitive boilerplate code is something that these models can very well do. So like if a person is spending time in that task, it's clearly like it's not valuable. Writing routine code, right? Code refactoring is one part there where like I've seen people like teams spending like, because if it's a legacy code, it takes like quarter worth of effort to refactor, to make it, to bring it into a state that it's maintainable. Now this is one part where I've experienced like these models do extremely well, because like even in my org, when we work with legacy libraries, when we provide the right context, when we provide like clear instructions what we want to do, AI models does a good job in handling legacy code, because it must be written by thousands of developers in the past. Documentation might exist, might not exist, which earlier used to take a lot of time for any new person who is getting his hands on the code. But with these models in place, it becomes very easy to refactor code to deal with legacy codes out there. Writing documentation. This is also one part that is like which AI models do very well. And whenever we do some project, whenever we complete some project, writing docs always helps. But earlier we used to do it manually, but now with this AI models, they do a pretty good job in documenting the things that we have developed. It helps in getting recognized across our organization, and also when we revisit the project, it helps us recollect things that okay, what all thing, because generate writing reading code is difficult, reading AI generated code it's more difficult. So when you have proper docs in place, that it helps us like get up to the speed faster. So writing docs manually is degree is of low value, but when you use AI to use that, like that's a win. Things which are valued at premium. No, this is a famous quote where it's like, when AI is the solution, what's the problem? What's the question you are trying to solve? Currently, we see like people having opinions like adding AI at different places can add value. So if everyone has access to AI, what is the differentiating factor? That is the your problem framing capability. AI is powerful, but it's not wise. It only knows what you only know what you meant, but it only knows what you type in the prompt, what you say in the prompt. So your ability to frame problems, your ability to define constraints in the production environment, to define trade-offs, are the one that will be differentiating factor when like in today's time. This is one skill that is valued at premium right now, because code has become cheaper. So focus shifts towards that, okay, like what thing you are trying to solve. Second thing is effective prompting. Earlier there was a saying like clarity of thoughts is clarity of code. So if a person is clear in their thought, is clear about the solution in their thoughts, their code will be clear. This was the principle which we used to assess when we interview candidates. But now that paradigm has changed. It's like clarity of thoughts translate to clarity of prompts. And if the prompts are crystal clear, if the prompts are good, then that will translate to a crystal clear code from an LLM. So this is new skill that has come up and that is valued at premium. Code review ability. Now AI can generate an endpoint, it can generate a React component, but where it fails it can't decide where the boundaries are. It cannot decide on the failure modes. It can't decide on the data flows that needs to exist. So it's like we need to be aware of where things break, and that is the architecture. And once you have that knowledge, you will be able to review the AI generated code thoroughly and figure out flaws there, like where it has committed mistakes. And even if we are unable to go through the code thoroughly, we can even ask the model itself to, okay, like explain me what all steps the code does. And then when it explains it in simple language, any fundamental flaw that exists, like it surfaces up, and we can go and fix that. So your engineering judgment and your code review ability are the things that pays you off for in today's world. Learning agility, like, because currently we have cloud code, we have different codecs, different AI models coming up, right? Different IDs coming up, but we need to be agile enough to learn this, to pick up these tools and to adapt these tools in our day to day work, because that is what the organizations are expecting. They have invested in these tools, they have given access to these tools to their employees. Now they expect employees to get familiar with that, to become, to adapt these tools and to use it at the maximum possible way. So only then their investment would pay off. So we have to be agile enough whenever a new tool is introduced in our organization or in our team. We should be open enough to try it out, see where it's working, where it's not working, communicate that thing and use it where it's benefiting us. It's not like we should not be rigid in that sense, like if a new tool comes up, okay, let others try and then I'll decide. We should not go take that route. It's like actively trying out things and figuring out, okay, what's working, not what's not working, because currently, like, entire industry is figuring out, okay, how to use this at the full potential. So we talked about shift in value of skills. Now, how do we solve this problem? Like by using AI, okay, that's a short answer, but how we can leverage this to its full potential, to get the full benefits out of it. So the first problem that I mentioned is, we see increased in expectations from our in our current role. We are expected to do more, with the help of these AI tools. So this set of tasks are like something that we know how to do, but it is just like it's gonna take more time for us to do. So so using AI to do more, that's the first level, I would say, where we are doing tasks we are already familiar with. We could have very well done ourselves, but we are offloading that to AI so that we can focus on tasks which require more thinking. So writing boilerplate code, refactoring code, writing unit tests, these are the tasks which we can offload it to models so that you can focus on the core logic. It frees up your time and you can invest them in other things that truly requires your thinking bandwidth. Level 2, which is doing things that you could not do earlier. So here it's like acting like a super IC. By that I mean, like, we are using AI to write code in languages that we aren't familiar with. I myself have done this part, and like, once you are familiar with one language, one programming language, we can leverage these tools to code up in different languages based on the requirement of projects. It helps us to pick up projects which are beyond the scope of our primary expertise. And that that would be something that is like immensely valued when we are working at different organization. So if you if you know one distributed computing language, you can use AI to write the same code in another language which is requirement of the project. So spending time in, say, gaining mastery in a language, that is behind that has become less valued due to this reason. We need to know fundamentals, we need to know how language is working under the hood. But earlier we used to spend a lot of time in getting, I would say, in becoming a ninja in a language. Now like that is very well taken care by AI. The third, so second thing that it enables us is it, in summary, to take projects beyond our primary expertise. The third thing is using AI to do everything. Say we are given a task where we don't know where to start at, use AI as a thought partner. Use it. I think this was also mentioned in one of the previous sessions that we had. Like we ask AI like what problem, we use it as a thought partner. We use it to brainstorm ideas and then arrive at a plan to fulfill the expected outcome. It's like dragging AI in all possible way in your day-to-day work as you can, and then let it teach you what things it can do and what it cannot do. So, like the three problems that I mentioned, which is increased expectations, increase in scope of the role, and like smaller teams expected to deliver more. Like all these three level match to those three problems. Like the three levels of using AI help us solve those three problems. This leads to like two extremes. I've seen people like it's very easy to land up in these two buckets, but we have to be clear that we don't land up in any of these two. First is blind AI. We we just give a one prompt, take its output, plug it in into a project, and we feel fast until it breaks. And once it breaks, it's like we feel helpless, we feel powerless. That's because we borrowed confidence from AI. We did not understand what it do, whether it fulfilled my project requirements or not, until it breaks, and then we end up in a firefighting situation trying to fix things. That's one extreme, which is blind AI, which is not a good spot to be in. Second is refusing AI, where you believe like vibe coding is not real engineering. You feel like, okay, if I manually code up things, that's where I learn, and that is what gonna solve real world problems. But that is not the case, because currently like throughput is valued. The world is rewarding throughputs, like how much problems we are able to solve. And refusing AI, it's like we would end up limiting ourselves to very few number of problems which otherwise we could have solved like much more and much faster. So there has to be a balance between the two. So what's the balance model out there? So there is a right way, a simple three-layer model, and that helps us decide, okay, where we have to trust AI and where we should not. First is like we need to master the core fundamentals. This is non-negotiables, because your fundamentals will help you to judge quality of the AI outputs. It prevents you from being wrong. And without AI, without fundamentals, it makes you faster, but you get faster at being wrong. So mastering fundamentals is extremely critical, irrespective of whichever technology you're picking up, whether it's backend, whether it's front end, whether it's data science, anything. Second is AI augmented execution, where we use AI to write code templates. We use AI to write unit tests. We use AI to refactor the code. We are outsourcing typing. We are not outsourcing our thinking process. We are not outsourcing what problem we are trying to solve. We are just like, I would say, translating a problem so that AI can understand and come up with an initial solution for me. So that's the second layer. The third layer is deep expertise, because like depending on your domain, it's important for us to have one or two deep areas of expertise, so that when things break, it becomes easier to debug. When system is on fire, depth is what that is a savior from outages, right? So it's important, like, so we are saving time from writing code. We can invest time in building our fundamentals and developing deep expertise of say system design or say architecture, those parts. That because deep expertise is the savior when we land up in firefighting situations. So with this so say if I have to start today, if I want to incorporate vibe coding in my day to day activities, I want to use assisted coding to my benefit, what are the steps? So we need to, like, whenever we pick any vibe coding task or any AI assisted coding task, we need to pick it up, like do it in five simple steps. First is to generate an initial solution where we first understand the problem thoroughly, understand the constraints, and then provide a clear constraint prompt to create an initial solution out of using LLMs. Once it has the initial solution, make sure it's working, make sure it satisfies your P0 constraints that we have, which is something that you can never violate depending on your constraints. That's the first step. Second step is, like, you use AI iteratively to refine the solution to handle the edge cases. So that's the second step where you do couple of iteration, you refine the solution, and, like, so you move closer to your final solution, and you're actively collaborating with AI at each and every step. The third step is critique. You review the code. You tell AI to explain, say you go through the AI generated code, or if it's large enough, you ask AI to explain it you in simple steps what it has done so far. You spot the flaws and you prompt models to fix the solution, to provide you solution that fixes the flaws in the occurred in the initial iterations. Fourth step is to optimize the solution. Once you have a working solution, once it's up and working, once it's working, it is satisfying all your constraints. Fourth step is to optimize the solution. Never go for optimizing solution before you have arrived at a solution, because this is a very common trap to fall into. Like premature optimization, we always land up in difficult situations if we try to do premature optimization. So fourth step is to optimize the solution, see where your code is taking most amount of time, and, like, which tweaks can help us, and actively use AI for that. And the last step is simplify, because what I've seen is this models generate code which is very exhaustive. Lot of time I've seen like 50% of the code is simply redundant. So simplifying the AI generated output is also an important step, because the lesser code you have, it's better code, it's easier to maintain, and it's easier to fix. So any coding task that we get in, say, in our job role, we can follow these five simple steps, and that can help us, like, to iterate over different solution and to decide which is the best one that is suiting our requirements. And it also helps us, like, deliver more in the our current job role. So to see these steps in action, like, Yash Bhai Soni has prepared a short demo for us. I'll invite Yash Bhai to introduce himself and walk us through the demo on how vibe coding can help us, like, deliver more in our current job roles.
Hello,
Hi, Yash Bhai, sound is audible.
perfect. Um, Hello everyone, Jai Swaminarayan. Thank you, Manan for the presentation. We'll quickly start with the demo. Few key pointers here is this is a pre-recorded. I just recorded it before the demo started. It's a 15 minutes capped demo. We have paused through all the time-consuming steps of generations and the code executions. And post demo, I'll show the app running on my system as well because we should show it live also. So I'll quickly share my screen, just a second. Okay, hello guys. So this video is regarding a demo that we're going to do in our vibe coding seminar, which represents how we can use different AI tools and build an application from scratch. So here we will be building a Trello clone. So I'll start with, I'm looking forward to make a Trello-like app. We will keep it very simple. Focus on MVP with minimum and important features. Also, let's describe them so that the AI should not guess what we are doing. So it's like, let's do auth, board creation, list creation in boards. Lists are nothing but the swim lanes that we create on the fly in Trello. And then drag and drop, create, update the cards. Very simple, very basic. App name. This is not any template. I'm just writing as per my requirements. There is no custom prompt template or anything that we should use. Tech stack. So I'll define a stack. Usually, this demo is regarding what technologies that we use in our day-to-day life and how we leverage AI to implement it. So let's say in my office we use Next.js a lot. So I'll say Next.js for both AI and UI. Then we will use Drizzle ORM. Drizzle helps you to do the connectivity between DB and app. So let's say for DB talking, then we'll go for Postgres PG database. We'll assume that you have a database setup either in your local or Superbase or NeonDB. There are many free or freemium providers in the market. We will use Tailwind CSS and shared CN for CSS and UX. And let's say I don't want anything fancy with auth. For auth, use a simple custom JWT without any library, because auth JSON all will be more complex for us. Okay, so what I want from ChatGPT here, to give me something as a document which I can give to cursor or anti-gravity so they can start implementing. So keep the design simple. Here I mean system design, and make the technical document which I want to pass on to cursor or anti-gravity to process the development. Very simple. Okay, so the description should be in detail. So we try to make it in detail as much as possible, and the best way to do it is to not let AI guess the important parts of your development. So better we define more stuffs. Let's proceed. Let's see what we get. So by the way, this is a chat gpt go account, 399 rupees I believe, but this kind of stuff can be done inside cursor and anti-gravity as well, or in a chat gpt free version as well. I follow this pattern, but everybody can have their own pattern definitions. So we got the overview, tech stack. See, for drag and drop, we didn't ask for a plugin name, but we got DND kit. That's fine. We got the high level architecture, core entities. Core entities is like databases. What tables we will get? So we got four: user, board, list, and card. I think this is fine. We have schema, auth, flow. Everything is fine. So before implementing anything that we get from AI, our main job here is to verify the response, because web coding is assisting you. So you need to wear your reviewer hat and always be a reviewer of what AI is doing. Okay, honestly, on a high level, I am not reading all the things, but let's say copy this. Okay, now we have anti-gravity open. This is linked to my Gmail, and this Google is subscribed with the current geo offer of 18 months Gemini free. This is to encourage people to subscribe more to AI and get more of this thing here. Okay, so now uh, we'll work on a new window, new folder, and desktop. I'll make like Trello clone, empty folder. We'll close the previous one, and whatever we copied, let's paste it as requirements.md markdown file. I'll remove the last part of question from ChatGPT, save it, and just preview it. This is nothing but we copy pasted the text spec. Now, what I'll do is anti-gravity has two primary mode. We are not learning how IDE works, to be honest, but planning and fast with pro and regular models. So we will be in planning mode with the pro high model, and I can ask it to read the requirements and create an implementation plan for this app. Let's wait for it. I'll take a pause, or I'll pause the video whenever there is a process. Okay. I think this would be quick. So every IDE like Cursor, Anti-Gravity, or any AI tool has a plan mode predefined. So here we got two things: implementation plan and task. Okay, so let's go through the implementation plan very quickly. Okay, this is just a conversion of our doc. That is fine. Okay, okay, looks good. I'll just add a comment. That comment would be share all the shell scripts pre-hand so the user will execute himself. I had a comment. So this is a specific feature of anti-gravity where you can add comments to the implementation plan, and you can review, and you can ask to degenerate. So you can add comments at multiple places of what you don't like, what you want to change, and you can ask AI to consider your comment and regenerate the plan. This helps you to rework on the plan also multiple times before going to final execution. Okay, now you see we got this block added in the plan, which gives us all the scripts. Now why we did that is if we get the scripts pre-hand, it will be very easy for us to start implementing and not AI execute them. It takes a lot of time, and we can just open our terminal. I prefer bash, so I'll open git bash and start with the first one. I'll delete this requirements doc because we don't need it anymore. We already have the implementation plan. I'll pause because this process is lengthier. Okay, so the first command executed successfully. It's just a spinning of the next application. Next, I'll run all these commands together because they are just adding of the packages. I'll paste, submit, and pause the video until it's completed. Okay, all the commands are executed. You see we have shared CN components as well. We have all the packages installed, DND, drizzle, everything. So now the implementation plan is still not executed. Okay, we can see the task, nothing is checked. So what I'll do is I'll ask anti-gravity. I have executed all the scripts at start. Please begin the implementation. Now it will take a look at the implementation plan and it will start working on each task one by one. So I'll pause here as well. It will take some time. Okay, you see the implementation is completed. It generated almost 29 files, but I see some errors. There are some files which are read out. That means there is some TypeScript error. So we'll ask AI with the fast mode to fix the type check error across my app. And good, as and when we should get problems while vibe coding, so on the fly we will know how to use AI to fix them. So that is not a problem. Okay, now you see it solved all the build problems or the type check problems as well. Everything is green. So we'll blindly, even I don't know what it has created, so we'll accept all those changes. And the first thing we need to do, since we are developing a full stack application, it gave us env example file. So I'll just copy paste and rename it as env.local. And I have a local Postgres database. This is fine. Secret is fine. It points to a DB called my boards, which we don't have as of now. So there are some prerequisites we should also do manually. So I already had a local database of Postgres in my system. I'll just create a new DB, name it my boards, because if we don't do it, we will get an error of DB not found. Okay, now let's do npx drizzle git push. This is to push our DB changes. We got an error, no config found. So I just copy pasted this error here, and what it found is .env packages was required, so it's setting it up. So that's how progressively we use the chat and improve the systems on the fly. So the main reason was it points to .env by default, but we made env.local, so the system understood the problem, and now it's itself tried the diesel grid push. You can see it found the env local file, applying changes to database, done. Let's go to my boards as a database. You can see the tables. So I just started my application. I'll create a sample user and log in into the system. You see it says no boards yet. Create a first board. Let's call it wipe coding. I'll create list. It's to do in progress. Done. Test one. I'll create some cards. Okay. Whatever we do here, we can see all of these things in the database. So we have boards, cards, we have list, everything. So let's continue. Okay, so this was what I recorded before the session. Now I'll show you live. I'll just take 5 minutes, Manan bhai. So the reason to do this is, and the reason to talk about the apps and the subscription is, people still hesitate to go ahead and subscribe to any AI package. So what we try to assemble here is the list of tools which are open source or freemium or have a generous free trial. Like anti-gravity is totally free. Google Gemini subscription, we get it from the current Geo plan. ChatGPT free or go version is fine. So with the minimum or no cost, this is to encourage you guys to build a system. And also, if you see the demo, it is not any simple one page landing page or simple application. It has all the things implemented. So I'll just show you the database. Whatever cards we created, we see it here in the DB. It has a unique UID. You can see the boards user. It automatically hashed the password. So if you think so I have 8 years of experience, and if you ask me to go at least 5 years back or 6 years back, all these things would take me weeks to do. The main program is to set up the DB and the APIs, but I never looked. The video I made was on the fly. The Trello like application was also a very new thing for me. But you see, I never had to review such small CRUD operations, and it completed the entire app generation. So this is my board, and you can see all these cards are here. If you change anything, you can see it will get updated real time. If I write hello, you will get a hello card. So I'll just take 1 more minute and I'll ask AI to add toggle for light and dark theme. So how we should use this is, I still believe, and as Manan Bhai said, it will not going to be a replacement of you, but it's going to assist you. So any tool which you make or any tool which is released in the market, they always called it an AI assisted development tool, because there are a lot of manual works. You see, I had to set up the DB. I had to ask AI to go for a specific package or to go for a specific tech stack. So many people will ask me, how do you know, or why are you, I'll show you. Yeah. Why are you sharing all those minute details? But I would say that's a prerequisite of your job. The main reason why we are hired by any of the company is to at least have a base of the technology, the tools, the packages, the apps that we use in our day-to-day technical life. That should be a prerequisite. So we cannot go all blind on AI and to let it decide what we should do. You should at least have all these stuffs, and that's why the prompt which I shared, I think that's open as well. ChatGPT, yeah. That's why the prompt which I shared here on the top defines the tech stack and the tools and the libraries uh, on the fly, because that's the bare minimum thing that you should have, and that's what we would expect from you. Okay, so I just asked it to develop a toggle for the theme. Let's say if we got it or not. Okay, this is the profile. You see, now it started throwing some errors, and we'll try to fix on the fly. I'll copy this. I'll give it to AI. I'll try to change the model. Also, you can have a different way of implementation plan. Like I use ChatGPT for planning, and then execution I went for anti-gravity. But in real life, I use Cloud Code, anti-gravity as a combination, cursor in Cloud Code as a combination. So that's not a problem. In terms of model decision, also I'm quite biased towards cloud models because they are very good for the development. And parallelly, I use Gemini in terms of UI development as well. So see, as and when you will progress, you will find all these problems. The problem is that the subscription is expired. No worries. Let's try this last thing and then we will move on to Q&A. Okay, it fixed the import problem. See, now we got light theme, dark theme, and it fixed on the system. So we need not panic. Now in the live demo, I got some errors, but that were originally not generated by us. We asked AI to help us with the light and dark theme toggle, and it just hallucinated and broke the stuff. But our job is to take care of those errors. I never read them. I passed it on to the IDE, try switching the models and fixing it. So experience matters in such spaces where it helps you to decide what you need to command, what should be past, and how we should tackle such problems. So yeah, that was my last part of this demo. I'll stop sharing and I'll hand it back to Mananbhai. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Yashbhai, for walking us through the demo. So we can see the pace, right? Like earlier, it used to take weeks, and now in a very short amount of time, like we are able to code, like able to come up with a working application in a very small amount of time. Yeah, just one sec. I'll share the right screen. Mm. So we saw all 5 steps in action where Yashbhai used AI to generate a clear prompt, clear instructions. Then he iterated over the solution and provided a very simple POC right on the call in 15 minutes of time. So this is the speed that it is unlocking for us, and task on us is to leverage to the maximum that we can. So these are briefly the tools that he used in the demo. Anti-gravity ID is a AI-based ID built by Google. It's free and it helps us in lot of projects, lot of tasks. Google AI Pro, like it comes free with Geo recharge if we do, I think for 5G recharges, and Postgres SQL DB is used and DB viewer for viewing the database tables. So to summarize, vibe coding is not about being lazy, it's about being leveraged, and leverage is what decides careers in such fragile markets. So I hope you found the today's session and the demo useful, and we open it up for Q&A. So Q&A is enabled in the YouTube comment section, so you can post your comments there, your questions there, and we can go over them one by one. So it's enabled under the live chat option. Yeah, I will stop sharing the screen. Yeah, I can see the comments coming in. First question is, anti-gravity is free only with Geo? No, it's open source by Google. Like any we can use it like even without Geo. It's simply a Gmail login that is required, and then we can use it for our day-to-day task.
Just an small add-on on top of it. Uh, Geo subscription helps you to get more leverage on the usage. If your tokens are getting expired in 1 hour, if you have a paid plan, it will get expired in a more extended time. So, but with a regular Gmail account, you still are bound to use it with some quick expiration time. Yeah. Okay. The next question is, what should we do when we try to make an application which requires third-party APIs or databases? Great. This is our day-to-day problem where we do third-party provider integrations. So how I begin with this is, so the reason to do chat GPT planning at start was to have a full detailed view of what we are going to do. If you have a third-party API integration, you pass the doc URL, you mention about the third-party APIs or databases that you want to use, and then iterate it over and over with ChatGPT until you get the detailed technical documentation as we got for our Trello system. Only after then move on to coding. Jumping to coding right away or jumping to execution very quickly will spoil the event. So a well planned is half done. This is what applies here as well. Yeah. Manan bhai, you can take next question.
Any specific coding frameworks which AI is efficient at, as in on front end or back end? So choice of the framework is a function of like your project requirements, your constraints. Like usually these models are built on like on huge amounts of data. So the efficient the prompt is, the detailed the prompt is, the better the model will generate the outputs. So your choice of framework should not be constrained by the like e- efficiency of an AI model, but it should be governed by the project that you are working on. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, I can take this one. SDLC to ADLC, it's part of vibe coding or it's much bigger picture coming in? So ADLC is nothing, SDLC to ADLC is nothing but it's agentic development lifecycle. And as I said in my previous comment as well, vibe coding is just executing the planning part, but well planned is half done. So in every software development phase for you, the important part is to gather your requirements, make it as much as detailed prompt as you wish it to be, and then get a document, iterate it over and over, and then give it to the IDE for vibe coding. So I think vibe coding is the last step of the engineering, same as we do in our regular development life cycles as well. Yeah.
Yeah, any more questions coming in?
We have one more, Mananbhai, you can answer. But what about the existing one to modified how it work? He's asking about migrating from old to new or legacy
Hmm.
to new code base, how it
Yeah,
works.
yeah. So I have some experience doing that. So like in this, the key is providing the right context. So here in the demo, Yashbhai built a demo from scratch. Like he built an application from scratch. But when we are in our job roles, we are expected to work in the on existing code bases, on features which are already built out there. So there the key is providing the right context. So in the demo, in the right hand side window, when you saw all the files are open, those are the files the model is gonna scan for your solution. So when you're working with existing code bases, we need to make sure like we are adding the right files so that AI model can pick that up as a context and craft the solution that is best for you. So yeah, session is recorded. Yeah, is Kodak's anti-gravity similar? So anti-gravity is an IDE. Codex is basically a model that OpenAI has built to for coding, for which is specialized for coding related tasks. In anti-gravity, you can select multiple models, but and Codex is one of the model. So comparison between Codex and Claude Code, which one is more efficient? Uh, yeah, this it's a personal taste, I would say. Some people are more comfortable with Kodak, some with Claude Code. It's a function of how well you are defining your problem and how well you are giving out prompts. Any thoughts on SDD, spec-driven development, which will help more on vibe coding with specific agents doing specific tasks? How that is growing with vibe coding? Yes, by spec-driven development. What I know so far is when we give a prompt, it already spins up multiple agents which do different tasks. But Yashbhai can throw more light on that.
Yeah, so it links to the question of codex versus anti-gravity. Anti-gravity was in the era of IDE based AI development where cursor and all those tools were introduced. Now codex, Cloud Code, and agentic development tools are introduced where I personally use Cloud Code a lot, where you can create multiple. So I have an architecture agent, a bug reviewer, a tester, developer, UI designer, all of them different. And I put it in Claude MD file. Share this requirements in the same process, and then the Claude takes up, so, divides a task into specific agents as per my description, and that's how it's done. Even if you now, if you see YouTube, more of the content creators are pushing towards multi-agent development. So yes, that is the current latest version of vibe coding which is going on in the market. We will have a max time of Q&A as well, Amanan bhai. Just take a look.
Mhm. In already existing application, will it be reliable to leverage AI, or are there chances it could break the existing functionality, as we saw in the news last week, which affected prod apps? That is where review comes into picture. Code reviewability is that helps you to identify if the existing functionality is breaking or not. Any resources for improving vibe coding skills? Uh, Few resources which I find useful are mainly in the, like, you can find them in on the Claude website or even on the OpenAI's website, where along with model they also prescribe recommended prompting practices, because these models are, because the way these models are built, there's a specific way of prompting each of these models, which it can generate an optimal output. So I think looking at the docs from orgs which created this model is the best resource that I've found so far. Yeah, so we don't have any further questions coming in. Next, I would like to invite Nishkam Bhai for his concluding remarks on today's session. Yeah, we'll wait for a second for him to join. Okay, he won't be able to join, looks like. So, yeah, thank you for joining us on today's session. Hope you find it useful, and and hope the insights that Yashbhai gave, that we went through today, will help you in your day-to-day coding task. Thank you for joining, and Jai Savana.
Thank you, Jason Narayan.
रितेश भाई एंड करिए कॉल.
हाँ हाँ
हाँ जी, हाँ जी, हाँ जी, ओके ओके जी.